Welcome everybody, it's your boy, the Versace Stoner, with another episode of VSW.
These sons will beat you.
That's right, folks. Big news flash. Oh my God! VSW.
Brass hats know what time it is. Get up off of your seats and bow down to the king.
One of the greatest in this game and one of my favorite all-time people in this game. The Versace Stoner.
It's places like this. I started in a mill. I'm here still in a mill. I consider myself a mill wrestler.
Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner. We're here with a very special episode of VSW Podcast. We got somebody coming on, one of my personal favorite people in the industry, and one of the greatest managers, Mr. Chad Epic. Welcome.
How we all doing? I don't know who watches it, but how you all doing? I don't really care, but you can say it and talk to your screen because you're lonely. At least you actually have good taste in merchandise.
That's one thing I do. I'm known for having decent taste in merchandise.
You are one of the many of thousands people who have bought in my crap.
I have to say I do buy a lot of crap, but yours is some of my favorite stuff. I mean, I have this. I have my kids got it right now, but I have a wrestling buddy of yours. I got a bunch of stuff of yours.
Most people don't understand. It's professional wrestling is a business, and when I say buy my crap, it's not because it's crap. It's because you should buy it. Doesn't matter if it has my logo on it, if it has other wrestlers' logo on it. You got to make money by APMO, always putting myself over.
Well, that's the name of the business, really. If you don't understand that, you're not going to make it very far. I hate to say it.
Well, you go to a lot of shows. I've seen you all across New England. You will travel if the show is intriguing to you. How many people complain that they don't make enough, and yet they're not out there during intermission? They're not out there at the end of the show. They're not out there at the beginning of the show. And if they are, they sit behind their table twiddling their thumbs, and they expect people to walk over to them.
Yeah, unless you're like this known TV star or you're somebody that's really high profile, you got to kind of grab people. You got to kind of say, hey, you over there. Hey, you over there. Hey, what do you think of my match? How do you like this? Hey, what do you want to join my crew? You got to be interactive. And that's the great thing about indie wrestling that kind of sets it aside from WWE, AEW, that you can interact with the fans so closely and get so much into it that you can get them to buy all your crap.
Well, that's the thing. That's some of the biggest people seem to forget, crowd interaction. Half the time, people want to kill me at a show, and I'm completely okay with that. One of my proudest moments, I had a guy pull a giant friggin' Bowie knife on me because I pissed him off that much. And it was great. Everyone's like, oh, were you scared? No, I felt it as it was a badge of honor.
It's true, though. If you ever even listen to any of New Jack's stuff, and yes, he's a little bit crazy and went the way he did it, but if you ever listen to it, he boasted on how he played the crowd back in the day with pulling news.
So good. Me and Rob Marsh had the pleasure of working with him on multiple occasions. When he passed away, we, hit each other up. That was a sucky moment. People could say what they want about the dude. If you never disrespected him, if you never crossed a line with him and you worked with him, he was the chillest dude in the world. Once you were sitting there trying to make him look like a fool, I don't know. Can you swear here?
Yeah, you sure can.
All right. When people tried to make him look like a jackass because they thought they were better than him, that's when he would take it out on you. Sometimes he did go a little far. Let's be honest. He shouldn't.
Yeah, I get that. He's a little bit crazy.
Times.
But it was also different times, and it was also different eras. And sometimes, he wasn't always the biggest dude. He wasn't always maybe the baddest dude, but no. he gave himself a record. Look, you're not going to play around with me tonight. I'm here to work. Let's do the job. And then everybody goes home.
He had freaking Mustafa with him who was batshit crazy. It's like Saturn and Cronus. I've met Saturn on multiple occasions. Cronus I never had the pleasure of meeting. I have talked with people, and Cronus was as crazy as he was on TV. He like if you disrespected someone like that, he would beat your face in. There's no way around it. It's simple. Like one of the biggest things of the business is respect.
It is, and I mean, I think it all boils down to, it doesn't even matter which locker room you're working in. It all boils down to that, that word respect. Do you respect who's been here before you? Do you respect who's in there with you now? Are you respecting who's running this place?
I
You got to
respect.
remember,
Yeah,
it's
I
all
respect
about.
everyone until it's not given to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's basically how it. That's how life works. I mean, you give
Yeah,
what you get, and you get what you give.
I don't
And
care how
I mean,
long you've
speaking
been
of this,
doing
you're
this. How
throwing these
good.
names.
Yeah.
For
I don't care
those
how
that
long you've been doing it, how many flips. If you're disrespectful to me, my people, then to me you're just another bum.
And I mean, yeah, and I mean, why waste your time, power, energy, whatever it is you do on that? It's not even worth it. It's not going to bring anything. Really
Oh, you
doesn't.
have people, they're I'm better than you or I'm better than him. I'm like, we're all working the same VFW, bub. You ain't better than anybody.
We're all at the same show Saturday night.
Yeah, man. Like wrestling has a lot of unnecessary egos. It definitely likes, people like to think they're a lot more off than they are. I have said this before. I get a lot of guff for it, but there are no draws in professional wrestling on the independent level. If you put someone's name on a marquee, just their name, pro wrestling, name one person who could sell out a building on the marquee by themselves in New England.
To be honest with you, the only person that I think that came close or helped do it was when AG came back from WWE.
But could he sell out? AG's great. He's killing it in Japan. AG is a great professional wrestler. But can he sell out a building with 5,000 people just by himself?
No, nobody in this New
Exactly.
England can. I mean,
No one.
like I said, unless you bring someone back that has been here, made it to the great level, like MJF, you bring him back, he probably would sell it. You bring John Cena back, Sasha
I
Banks,
think
any of those
John
people.
would, I think. John would definitely do it. But he's not an independent star.
No,
MJF is not an independent star.
no. So nobody from New England now currently that's an independent star still could do it.
Across the world. Unless you can do what Ric Flair did in his last match, where they had to move the building to a bigger building because they sold so many tickets on just Ric Flair's name, you are not a draw. And that is not a shot at anybody, despite what people want to think. It's the truth.
No.
People go to
People
GCW not
draw
to see.
numbers, but they're not selling out the show. Yes, I can. People say I can vouch for 30 fans, and maybe they can. Some people can vouch for even more than that. Some people bring in 100. It all depends on how well they know, how many friends they have. Which area is this show being run in? Is that their demo? These hometown
North
favorites.
Shore?
North
Back in
Shore
Gloucester,
shows.
PG, I can draw 25, 50 people because that's where I grew up. And I have done exactly that at those shows.
The
That's
last
what
show I
do.
went
If
out
I go
in
to
North
Jersey,
Shore
I'm
was
not drawing that.
no. The last show I went out on the North Shore was Pop Up Wrestling. I saw Flex Armstrong. He drew in a good amount of people because it was
Yeah.
close in his hometown. He brought in a bunch, but he didn't sell out that show.
I
By
sold for
himself.
that ticket. I had at least 15 people buy tickets for me alone because they're people who wanted to see me.
I bought tickets to see you.
See, that's the thing. Like, I had a promoter one time tell me that you're not a draw if people don't buy tickets when you're not there.
That's true. But I mean, I'm
How
extreme.
am I a draw? How am I not a draw if the people only if you were there to see Chad Epic and Chad Epic is not on the show, why would you you're going to change your mind about going if your only sole purpose was going to see me?
Well,
And
I
like the show.
Well, you could be a collector, in which you want to buy crap that's at a good, valuable price. Or B, they just like you, and so they want to support you, and you happen to be part of whatever promotion that it is, and through you, they're going to support that promotion. And that's how, most promotions hopefully operate. Each individual star brings in their, fan base, and everybody kind of unisons together to fill that whole stadium.
See, it's the old question, is it the star or the brand? People don't go to Beyond to see one person. They go to Beyond because it's a Beyond wrestling, because Drew and his group built up a reputation of being a good show to go to. Limitless Wrestling, you don't go to see one person, you go, and Randy Carver bulls in 400 to 500, 600 people, no matter the size of the building, because it's Limitless Wrestling.
I'll never forget the show. I'll never forget the show that came back, the first one back from the pandemic. He did one of the ballsiest thing you could ever do in wrestling. He threw out he ran the whole show without announcing one match, and the whole show sold
Mystery
out
show,
without
right?
announcing a
Yeah,
match. Why?
the
Because
brand.
the brand. People know what they're going to expect, and that brand stays the same. And I can say the same thing even if you want to talk like Proving Ground. Every Proving Ground, it's going to stay at that baseline level of greatness. You know what I mean? Like it's always going to stay at a standard level when you're in these promotions. They stay at a standard, and then they might get better than that standard, but you're never going to go under that. And that's
Well,
what
that's
fans
the
accept.
thing.
So
Like,
when you buy into that brand, you're buying into that level.
exactly what people. It's the brand that is important. When you see my name on a card, my brand is the same. I will do the same exact thing. Doesn't matter if I'm a good guy or bad guy. When have you ever seen me be anything but Chad Epic? You're
No,
gonna see a
you're
fancy
not.
suit. You're gonna see me sell my crap. I'm gonna get the crowd to cheer or boo me because that's the brand of Chad Epic. I've had people, oh well, you need to change this and you need to change that. I'm like, I look at them like, with all due respect, no.
But you're also known in the independent and scene to be an actual good person, almost a gatekeeper of sorts, of keeping bad people, disgusting and vile, gross people out of this industry. You're not afraid to call people out. You're not afraid
Not at
to,
all.
because you know what I'm saying. So when people do see your name attached to a promotion, it's like, well, hey, that promotion's safe. We know that there's no fucking scumbags there,
I'm
and it,
proud
it
to
does
say I've
make a
gotten people
difference.
thrown out of buildings because I will hit them up and be like, hey, this is who's in your building. Either, you can, I'm going to tell every worker that I know on your card, or you can remove them yourself.
And
I am
unfortunately, I
very
mean,
proud to say that me and a lot of others, Jake Gomez, who, out of New York, you see him friggin' wrestle here around here all the time. There's another guy. There's more and more people who don't tolerate the same kind of crap that was allowed 15 years ago in this business.
no, and it doesn't have to just be, against kids. It could just be even other workers, or even just bad attitudes or vile, disgusting behaviors that are just no longer acceptable in society. Yes, granted, 15, 20 years ago, things were a little bit different. Well, I'm sure the locker rooms were a lot different. Go even back further than that, I'm sure it was even more different. But with every decade that changes, people change. And when people change, you got to kind of move up with those times. And sometimes people
Well,
don't.
exactly.
But
That's
that doesn't mean that everybody's got to suffer because nobody else is changing with these times.
what was acceptable 15, 20 years ago. You might have had, oh, well, George Carlin made this joke 20, 30 years ago. I'm like, yeah, because it was acceptable. If he was around today, he would change the joke and it wouldn't be acceptable. Like, there's certain things people like, I love the olden times. Oh, I wish it was in the good. What were the good about the 50s? There was slavery, segregation, or not slavery. Sorry, that's there was segregation.
It was.
So we should go back to them. Like,
And, the only thing that was great about any other decade rather than this is the things were just cheaper.
yeah, exactly. Like the generation behind ours. All right. I mean, I don't know. Like everyone knows, I got a kid, you got a kid. That generation behind us, we're teaching them to be better than we were, which you always should. All right. Don't accept the friggin' people who hurt you deliberately. Don't allow people to push you around. Don't allow people to hurt your friends or family. Doesn't matter
No,
what their skin color is, their orientation, who they love. If you're don't tolerate it. And my thing, if you're not hurting somebody else, if you're not hurting animals, you're not hurting kids, do whatever the hell you want. If you want to go smoke a freaking bag of weed every day, sure, you're not bothering me. I don't care. You're not affecting me or mine.
no. There's
It's fine.
millions of people. There's millions of people that do what society would consider not good choices, but it doesn't hurt anybody.
10 years ago, you would get arrested for doing what you're doing right now.
Of course, I would. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to have my name be my name. I wouldn't even be here. Put it that way.
Exactly. Society changes and wrestling. I broke in 2010. Even from back then, like the way a lot of the old timers treated me, like they would take liberties, they would put their hands on me. Nowadays, that's not tolerated, and they would get called out on it. I've called a few people out on it. Like I worked a show before COVID, BC times. Dude came in, put his bag right in front of the entryway. Guy came through, the sound guy, mind you. Dude got up and chopped him as hard as he could, knocked him on his ass. I'm like, and he starts chewing the kid out. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You put your bag in the walkway and you're going to blame him. He's not even a freaking worker. And then he stepped to me about it. And I called them out. Luckily, I had a lot of friends in that locker room, and they stepped up too. Like, dude, don't be a fucking dick. You can't. Why are you taking liberties with these kids? You know, we're
And
not in
that's
the
the thing.
business
I mean,
of hurting people.
and you're not Hulk Hogan coming in on a $5 million.
You're a
You
dude
know,
who's never left fucking New England.
and I mean, and that's where the egos do come into play. And unfortunately, with everything, I find like sometimes the kayfabe gets the best of the boys. It's one of those things that you just kind of see. I see it, sometimes in some of the shows that I get dragged into, the lower tier shows. Nothing that that has fans
So
or anything,
it's.
but it
I
does.
mean,
I
I've been
do
on
see it.
all the lower tier shows, but I've also been on some of the top tier shows. I've worked for some of the biggest companies in this area. I've been flown out with Rob Marsh doing some of the biggest deathmatch companies. The dudes on top of these companies are the chillest dudes in the world who don't play that bullshit.
No, it doesn't matter. They understand a title's a title. It doesn't matter about that. It's just it's part of the gimmick. It's part of the gag. It's part of the show. It doesn't. You're not Mike Tyson, champion of the world. You just didn't knock out some dude in front of 5 million people. You got to
People
kind
look
of break
good,
that down. You got to kind of think about that. And yourself. Not the fans are the fans. Let them believe what they want, but for yourself, for your own mentality.
you go to wrestling as a fan to forget about the friggin' world for 2 or 3 hours,
You
and you
do.
get larger than life people, and you get to get yelled at. I will get in your face. You'll have other people scream and yell at you and make fun of you, and it's a fun time.
And it's also a good place that you can kind of like. I mean, obviously not to a certain extent, but you can banter with
Yeah.
the rest. You can yell at you can say I hate you. You can, as long as you're within respectable grounds, you can yell at these guys, and they're pretty good most of the time about not getting back at you. I did see at one show, some old guy kind of got a little bit carried away and was throwing chairs.
Yeah, that was the last show you were at with me.
Yeah. And I've seen other shows where sometimes it just gets a little fun. Some people just they take it too serious. But for the most part, 99% of the time, I've seen everything just act really cool.
Yeah, well, it's wrestling. It's entertainment. It's to get away from the world for a while. Now, there's people who do it once a month. There's people who do it every other weekend. There's people like you mentioned, AG, who this is their livelihood.
Yeah.
All right. I have been in the last year. I have stepped up my game doing shows anywhere I can. I've been, getting on New England more, and I've been making a lot of money selling merchandise, enough where it's paying my bills. Like,
And I mean, to be honest, there's nothing wrong. That's how it should be. I mean,
yeah,
and congratulations. That means that you're doing something right. You're taking your passion and you're making, profit.
you give me a microphone, a red light. I don't believe there's not many people who can hustle like I can.
No, I've seen you work. I've seen you work whole rooms. I've seen you work whole crowds. You're one of the greatest people on mic. I've seen you, manage. You manage one of the greatest tag teams in New England. You had both Stephen Luss and PDAC there, Stephen Lambert at the time, but both just killing it out there.
Yes, they're great.
And Middlesex Express was just a household name in New England. I've seen you work with Tony Spence, another one of my favorite dudes. Dude, he's another mouthpiece.
Before the Middlesex Express came along, how many people did you hear call other people called chuds?
Nobody.
We brought that as a kind of a word around New England, all around.
And now that's kind of it's a term I've heard it in then NCW. I've heard it in all the promotions in New England that you'll see these guys in. Somebody gets called a chud. Even the fans would call each other chud sometimes. It's great to see that stuff.
Stephen Lust, Stephen Broad. I brought them in 2013. I got them to their first match in New World Wrestling Extreme, and since then it's just snowballed. Baker took us under his wing, Brickhouse Baker. And he's like, hey, you need to be managing these guys. And since then, I've been attached with those guys. And we have done so much more than, anyone ever thought we would do. We've worked with in front of 1,500 people. Worked with some of the biggest promotions in the area. I've been put on planes and hotel rooms. It's absurd with just a wrestling manager who's done as much as I have and allowed my people to friggin', do this stuff too. And I love it. I'll continue to do it for as long as I'm physically able to.
I actually got a cool piece of merch from that. Hold on one sec here. Because when I came into the indie scene, I was on and off, but back in 2017, I really got I got going with going to more and more shows. And oh, here everybody is a little Chad Epic thing. Really
And I
cool
still
though.
got more of those. You can find those
But
at any show that I'm at.
I was a big tag team fan in pro wrestling when I was growing up as a kid. I grew up with, a lot of tag teams like Demolition and stuff, and it just always captivated me seeing, guys come out in unison. And when I hit the indie scene, one team stung out, and that was, the Middlesex Express, because they came out as an actual tag team together. It wasn't a makeshift team. It wasn't two stars just thrown together coming out separate. They actually were in unison. They worked together. They sounded alike. They almost looked alike. Shit, they got the same birthday. Like,
Yeah.
they were a real tag team. So, I mean, I really fell in love with them. And then when Pete Dak kind of broke out singly, I was all over that. But I actually got I got these bad things.
Oh, nice.
I bought these from Steve back in the day during the pandemic. They're gonna keep zooming in and out, but they're the old trunks from the Middlesex Express.
Yeah, no, I know exactly which ones those are.
Yeah, they're the ones with the little lips. Pretty cool though.
Well, that's the thing. Like back in the day, tag team wise, there was like the guy we would in New England. There were not a lot of tag teams. There was the Fellowship, the Middlesex Express, the Heavy Hitters, the Hoods, Monster, the Mac Attacks,
and
the
MSP, maybe MSP a little bit.
No, they did. MSP didn't come around until what, 2017, 18?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they were in NCW a little bit around then, but prior to that, they weren't really around New England.
Yeah, Mainstay Posse, they're relatively new to New England tag team scene. They're killing it right now, and I would love to see more from them.
Oh, yeah, they've definitely, coming more down here. Like I said, I first saw them actually in NCW. That's why I was kind of just not sure if they were still working down here then, but maybe they were new to that area during that year. That was my first indie show. It was around 2017 that I jumped into the indie scene because I had taken some time off from pro wrestling. Just in general, just life got busy. And I just didn't watch wrestling. But, I was still kind of collecting the toys, playing with, the video games and keeping the dream alive. But just, I didn't have time to go to shows. I didn't have time to go anywhere. And so I just kind of got into a rut of just not doing it, just kind of disappeared for a while. But, yeah, life does happen. And you don't realize how fast that life can kind of just keep going. But then but then I ran into a friend in 17 and we were doing some other kind of projects on YouTube and we were just shooting the shit one day and I was showing him an old Macho Man promo and it just captivated everything that like wrestling should be and it kind of re-sparked me and we started to do like these kind of like wrestling skits almost and just playing around with that idea. What else do we pretend to be pro wrestlers? And so we did kind of like a couple of movies with that. And then I ended up saying, well, I kind of like this idea, but I don't want to wrestle. I want to kind of, do more videoing and stuff. I'm going to go and start checking out the scene and seeing what's out there in this area. Forget about, TV stuff. I can't get close to that. Let me see what's in New England. And I started hitting the shows. And then, I started at NCW in Dedham. That was the closest to me. And then after that, it was Beyond, Limitless. Well, Limitless, I had my eyes on. I didn't actually get there until 21. Because as you know, shows were hitting heavy, hard. We had all these great shows. Things were lined up through the max. Even Proving Ground had a great show coming up. But you had a steel cage match with Mike Montero and I think Conway. And then all of a sudden, we were all hit with that pandemic.
Yep.
I saw you at that Watertown show on a Saturday, and I think by the following Sunday, everything was shut down.
Yeah, my last show I did, the last show I believe I did for 2020 was a benefit show up in Newton.
Yep, that was the one. That was the one I saw. Yeah, that's the first time I met you. Yeah,
that was right after that that was a rough year.
And now let me ask you, how did that, I always ask her, I was like, how did that impact you? Just everything coming kind of to a halt, just kind of being your second income, second nature, second life.
At that time, I was doing 3-4 shows a weekend. I was working every Friday, Saturday, sometimes on Sunday, sometimes doing double shots, working on Thursday shows. And it went from every single weekend, 3 to 4 shows for almost a year to nothing.
Yeah, see, that's hard. And I mean, and I saw that online. I saw people just kind of these whole thing. And me as a fan, I was kind of just like,
Like,
but but that wasn't even like an ounce of what was being felt across the wrestlers because I'm seeing getting all these hype noses, because I'm really into it. I was going, I had been to that Beyond show that was like doubled up with the Evolve show, and I'm following all these guys. I was heading myself to Mania that year. There was all these New England guys going to
I was
Mania.
going to Mania. I had a good chunk of bookings down at Mania that year.
I was going actually just to go check out AG. He had a bunch of shows. I was a huge AG fan. Um, and yeah, I've traveled great distances for single guys. Like I driven one time all the way out to Jersey just to see Sidney Bacapella. I wanted to go to see him at Camp Leapfrog, so I ended up driving like 5 hours out there. But
Jersey's
I
a
ended
nice.
up. It was a nice show, and I ended up staying for the IWTV 100, which is an excellent show as well.
Yeah, I mean, before COVID hit, like I was traveling a lot with Rob Marsh. We were
Yeah.
working H2O, Horror Slam, IWA Mid South, working guys like Nick Gage and friggin' Jeff Cannonball. Like,
I mean, that's the thing. You're in the
oh,
hardcore
I
scene. You're in the
see.
deathcore scene. You're in that hardcore wrestling scene.
We were working like we've between me and him, like we've been in shared a ring with everybody except like outside of Terry Funk and guys from Japan.
That's
Like
impressive.
I March never got really the credit he deserved for busting his ass because he was a hardcore guy, but he could outwork 95% of the people he was in the ring with, I believe. He
Do
could
you think
outwork.
that's do you think that's something that's kind of like changing the times now, where like people kind of put kind of a little bit almost like a stink on hardcore wrestlers, where like if this was like early 2000s or late 90s, you'd almost be like a god.
I believe it was a lot worse in the early teens. Right now, when they see that GCW is pulling in more people than these other shows, and GCW made their name off of deathmatch wrestling. CCW, they had a stint, unfortunately, where it was not the place to be, but they've been coming back. They just had a killer friggin' tournament of death. The Big F and Joe won.
And you
The
even had XPW return. Rob Black coming back from the dead.
Yep,
I went to that first
I
show
know
in
that
New York.
back with mixed feelings for a lot of people.
Well, I have to say this. I wish somebody would have advised him not to throw a hardcore death show in New York because they have really strict laws about blood. And as soon as freaking Schlack bled, the guy had to stop the whole match. And it was kind of embarrassing because you got these deathmatch wrestlers that bleed blood pint by the pint. And he got a little scratch on his face and they had to stop the match. And people were just booing.
Well, the problem, I mean, you can't even. The problem is in wrestling, and a lot of the time, if you haven't noticed, people drag their personal stuff out on Twitter, on Facebook, on the Instagrams.
Unfortunately, that's become something in this like generation that kind of killed the kayfabe of wrestling. But yes.
Yeah, it did. But, I mean, people say that, but kayfabe, it didn't kill it. It changed it.
Well, yeah, because now you're seeing the human side of it. You're seeing, well, wrestlers are also humans too. They're going to feel the same. They're going to have emotion. They have a
It
family
goes
too.
back to the brand thing. When you talk to Chad Epic, you're talking to Chad Epic. That's the way it will always be. If I'm doing interviews at shows, you're talking to Chad Epic. I'm not going to sit down and have a beer with people, friggin', otherwise. This is who you talk to always. It's the same personality. It's a brand that must remain uniform and consistent. Like kayfabe and dead, it's just changed, and people who can't understand that it's changed don't really last anymore. Best example I can give you of someone who realized the change of it was Kid Bandit. They completely realized how to use Twitter, how to use social media, and made themselves into a household name. And people are like, oh, that's not how you do it. I'm like, really? Because they're getting booked and you're not. So,
well, I mean, I'll tell you, there was a few people that I had my eye on during that pandemic time that kind of utilized social media. One of them be Becca. Becca did an amazing job turning herself into a whole new person. She still does it today, using that Twitter, using that Instagram, and making it work for her gimmick. Not using it for personal problems and issues, just using it to spread your word and to spread who you are, and realize that you can get a lot of fans that way because a lot of people do hit social media and they will see your posts.
this is what I've called the TikTok generation. if you can't capture these people in a minute or less, they're going to flip the app. They're going to change the channel. They're going to, if you
They will.
can't do it in a minute, they don't care.
That's true. That
You
is true, and
see
that's
me
even like
work
myself. I will flip because I mean I do a lot with YouTube, so I'll flip through videos, and if it's not like
yeah,
if it doesn't get me in that first 20 or 30 seconds, you're not going to get me for the rest of it because there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of content out there. Let's face
there's
it,
so much
everybody.
content. What now? If you're just some Joe Schmo, you want to make it to the big leagues, but you have dyed blonde hair and a robe and your initials on your boot. So does 1,000 other people in the independent professional wrestling. What makes you stand out from everybody else? What
That's
makes
the thing.
people, hey, do I want to bring in a guy who's a wrestling robot or Joe Schmo with black tights and a robe that 20 other people can do? What do you think is going to bring in more people or more kids?
That's the thing, and I think that's the thing that sometimes happens even on the local indie scene is if obviously the talent pool, there's nobody exclusive unless you bring in one ups. So eventually you're going to see the same match across multiple promotions, and it's
But
almost
see,
going to
that
be the
you
same.
don't have to. There's too many cards that are all the same no matter what show you go to. It's the same. You could change it up. You could do something different. A great example right now is Rad Pro Wrestling with Brian Malonis as the pit boss. Their
Yep.
gimmick. It's entertaining. You go there and it's, hey, this guy might be Joe Smo over here, but now he's, some sort of superhero.
Yeah, I love that. I love that kind of new feel where you can see people act in a different way. Because in the end of it, wrestlers are also actors, and I'll get to my point about that in a minute. But they can play different roles. They don't have to be a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And you can have a similar character. You can still play that bad guy, but you're going to do it a little bit differently, and it can work. And another place that did that very well is Kill City Cup. I have to say, Luke Roberts did an amazing job bringing in people to play different characters.
Exactly.
And
like it was, it showed first, it was Twisted Metal meets Mortal Kombat meets pro wrestling, and it was insane.
And I'll say to anybody, for the longest time, I kind of got again into a rut of pro wrestling because it was all kind of getting the same, monotonous, and I just was like, I'm seeing the same stuff. And then I started seeing the Kill City Cup, and it really revitalized of what pro wrestling can be, should be, and that should be fun, exciting, and fun. Again, fun. It doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be something that should bring you anxiety or agitation.
That's the whole point. It was great. It was entertaining.
And it was only done in an hour.
Yeah. And it kept you watching for that hour.
Oh, yeah.
And you want more afterwards.
You do. You're waiting for part 2. I know a lot. Everybody that says, is there a part 2 yet? I'm like, no. Why even bother yet? Let it keep riding the first. There's still more people to be shown to.
I mean, wrestling is, everyone's, oh, well, that's not realistic. It's wrestling. It's not supposed to be realistic. You got a dude over in California who has a cereal head for a face.
You see, like when I grew up, wrestling wasn't realistic. You had people like Andre the Giant going in there, It was larger than life characters. Again, it was supposed to be a getaway from reality, not reality just brought into the arena. When you go to shows and you see real life, storylines kind of being drawn in, it's like, well, this is kind of like my life. Shit. You want that, distract. You want to see maybe some superhero action, Mighty Boss action, some, different kind of things. Dick Lane, choke slamming. That's the fun of wrestling. You can play with it however you want. It doesn't have to be just black and white.
And here's the best part about it. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. If you don't like luchadors, you don't watch luchadors. You don't like deathmatch, you don't watch deathmatch.
But for some reason, wrestling fans enjoy it.
There's straight up wrestling you can watch.
For some reasons, though, fans just seem to like to watch stuff that they don't like. They never watch the stuff that they enjoy, or at least talk about it.
Fans are some of the most miserable people on the planet sometimes.
But I think it's just a work. I think they just pretend to be that way.
No, they really are miserable, a lot of them. They just want to complain about something. People on the internet just want to complain about something, and they want to run their mouth behind a computer screen and a fake name like someone like Mayor McCheese. He wants to run his mouth behind a fake name, take jabs, and think there's no, repercussions for it. And then someone found out who he was, and his account magically disappeared.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, there's always going to be trolls in the
Oh no, that,
world.
that that is what happened with him. Like that's a story for a different time, but with all the stuff that he said, the racic, the homophobic, the sexic stuff, he really thinks he's just going to walk away clean from that.
There's always consequences.
Oh well, like you said before, I have no problem speaking out, and I have no problem calling out the people who are trash in this business. There's no reason a 30-year-old should be hooking up with a 14-year-old. There's no reason a dude who beat his wife half to death should still be wrestling. There's no reason who someone went in the ring and broke someone's face who has to go to work a 9 to 5 on Monday who did it on purpose. I was in the ring with a guy, he broke my jaw because he thought it would be funny.
There's
How
nothing
is that
funny.
acceptable?
There's nothing funny or acceptable about that. That's a straight up
Back then,
crime.
it's just like I was told to, hey, that's what happens in wrestling. If that was to happen to me today, it would be a completely different problem.
Well, I mean, there was just a scene that was kind of floating around the internet with Donnie Rotten. He got kicked in the face.
That was his
No,
own damn fault, though. He tried to friggin' break Foster's leg.
I know, but it was a bad situation on both ends. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like stuff like that just makes the whole scene kind of
Well,
just
see,
look.
the problem is, like, I've worked with Donnie. He still thinks wrestling's 100% real. And I've seen him shoot on people multiple times. Before the match, Foster told him, hey, leave this knee alone. It's having some issues. So what does he do? The first thing he goes for is to try to put a shoot leg lock on his bad knee. Foster needs his legs to work because he friggin' does labor stuff. He
Yeah,
told
I
him, hey,
mean,
back off, let go. And you hear clear in the video, hey, let go. He decided not to, so he fucked around and he found out. That's what people don't get anymore.
no, but
Like,
it just sucks.
okay,
It sucks that
online.
it just sucks that those are the scenes that go viral, but we can't get like people winning titles or people doing great moves that go viral.
People like when someone falls down. It's the reason why America's Funny Home Videos has been on the air since the 80s. People love seeing other people fail. It brings joy to them for some reason.
What a sick society, honestly.
I got really happy. Casanova was in the ring with Cena, Heyman, and Taker this past week on NXT. That's a dude I've worked with that you have seen live, has been around New England forever, and it was awesome to see a guy from New England be on that stage. I get to see Ivar, who I grew up watching as Handsome Johnny, every
Yeah.
week on friggin' TV every Monday night. That's really cool to see all these New England guys that I've worked with make it to where they belong.
Casanova is another one that I followed kind of around. He was at the last Evolve show that I went to. And he's another one that got picked up around the same time as AG. He just went to a different brand. He went right to NXT, and they kind of just kept him because he's a little bit taller.
I believe AG will make it back to AEW, WWE.
The problem with WWE, and it's not even an AG problem, it's a size problem. The WWE just never knows what to do with mid-sized people. They just have no idea. They tried 205 Live, doesn't work. They tried, running other shows, doesn't work. They tried putting them on the main roster. They don't know where to put them. And the heads of the company still think that, bigger is better. Let's get these big guys in there. But yet there's no big men in wrestling anymore.
Well, the guy running stuff right now is a New England guy from Kowalski's school. He was given what? According to the dirt sheets, he's 100% in control of creative right now. Endeavor gave it all to Triple H. The two guys who used to make dick jokes every week are running WWE creative, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't think working for WWE, working on making that kind of money, you don't think that's broken him down a little? He's not the same New England guy that left this New England All Pro Academy or wherever he
Honestly,
trained.
he seems to be. He wasn't a New England Pro Wrestling Academy. He was a Kowalski guy. He was taught wrestling as entertainment. WWE has been the best it has since he took the creative spot.
Oh, it has. I'm not saying that.
It's been amazing to watch wrestling across the board. NWA, AEW, MLW, all of it has been good, and they've all been doing well for themselves.
Well, if you haven't noticed, in WWE is kind of like the stock market, and if WWE is doing well, then all the other promotions will actually thrive off that. That's what fans don't get. Don't go shitting on WWE, because when you shit on them, all the other promotions start to fail down. WWE is the base of wrestling. No matter what you want to say, it's the NFL, it's the NBA. You're never going to get a better promotion. You can't beat them. You can't beat their heritage. You can't beat what they did.
It's the place to be. It's in more countries than any other wrestling promotion. If you're on that stage and you make it, then hell, like in NXT right now, the main trainer, I believe, is Matt Bloom, another Kowalski guy. You have Norman Smiley, Sarah Del Rey is helping train down there. Shawn Michaels, like you hear all these, the people who come out of there and bitch and moan about that are the ones who never really made it.
No, there's nothing wrong with the trainer, and honestly, if you talk to AG, he said everything was cool down there. He soaked everything up, and you know that's how it should be. You should soak everything up and take everything as a learning experience. You know, that's how you kind of get along in this business. Take what you want and kind of leave the bullshit behind. Go to the next spot. Bring that good shit with you. Get more good shit. Leave the bad shit. Keep going. Keep moving.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why he's in Japan. And he's not the only one. I've seen, you know, even other people get into Japan. You got Rip Bison and Perry Von Vicious fighting in Japan. But then you also got our local boys like BRG on MLW Saturday. I mean, congratulations to that. That's another huge thing.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of friggin' local guys are taking over MLW. If you think about it, Del Miexo is their women's champion. Like
she's another one. You know, another one that's just made it to the kind of the next level. I would say I would call it the next level.
I'm pretty sure Becca's there too. Actually,
she is. She's been even on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean she's on house arrest right now, from last I saw, for whatever reason, But
well, I mean, that's what happens when you deal with the music business. When you get in the music business, they're going to own your life. I mean, look what happened to poor Tupac and everything else. But she is on house arrest. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see her in Maine, and we went to the Limitless show, and she wasn't there. And then she showed us why. She got the bracelet. We're hoping to see more of her. She said something about maybe end of the year and next year. So see what happens. But, she was, like I said, one of the people that utilizes that social media, and she's still utilizing it now on the house arrest. She's still selling merch.
Yeah, it's a smart thing to do. Like, people don't get it, that it's all about the brand, and she's doing it correctly, and it's great to see. Like, despite what some people might want to think, I have no ill will towards anyone in professional wrestling who's actually trying to make a go at it. I want people to succeed. I want people to complete their dreams, to do what they need to do. As long as these people aren't, like I said earlier, aren't hurting anybody, any animals, any kids, then they belong here and they can have a friggin' run at it and have fun doing it. Just stop trying to tear down someone else because they're not at the same level. They didn't go to the same school as you. There's no reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people kind of split hairs over training in school, and well, I was trained for this many, and I was trained by this, and well,
here's the thing: when you have your trainers telling these guys to go out to the ring and hurt this guy because he's not from the same school as you, that is the bullshit that we need to get rid of, and people need to call out.
Yeah, I mean, there's no place in that business. This business is, it's a business, and whether it's an office that you work in or a ring you work in, there is a conduct of business. And the idea of it is to make money. And no one's going to make money if people are out there hurting each other intentionally, getting sued, lawsuits are flying, shit, people getting, attacked physically.
There's no reason. I mean, yes, it happens. People will do it because people are, selfish and petty.
Well, that's what it comes down to. I think the pettiness. People get really, really petty in this industry. I've noticed sometimes, and really bitter. And it can happen just for many reasons. They can feel like it could happen just for one little small thing. You'd be like, why are they so bent over it? But they'll just get bent, and you'll see them just go on a rampant rant from for the rest of their lives. They'll never be the same.
I find it hilarious. Like you want to see, like, if you want to cross me, hurt my money, and go after my people, I could be Petty Crocker if you want. I could be the pettiest person on the planet if I need to be.
Oh, I believe it.
I will. I am very protective of people I consider my family. Don't go after them. There's no reason for it. You don't think they're at the same level as you? Okay. No reason to physically attack them or try to friggin' stop them from doing shows.
Yeah, no one's saying, well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, somebody will be like, oh, I'm better than you. Well, that's fine. I'm not saying that you're not better than me. You might be. Who cares?
Cool. They can be better than me. I still made more money than them that night. Like,
at the end of the day, that's what it's boiling down to. This is a job. We're here to make money. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how much, and I'll say that in a regular job. I don't care if you spent $1 million to go to Harvard. Guess what? Now you're $1 million in debt. I'm still making more money than you every week, and I still don't have a debt.
Yeah, that's it's people People want to say this or that. They want to make it a negative. All right, just live your life. I mean, everyone knows, like, I ran the Rated R. I lost 3 buildings because someone went behind my back when I tried to plan them and called the buildings saying this or that. They're planning to do drugs, and they got me shut down.
Just petty
Before the
bullshit.
old XWA building got shut down, I was going to be running a Rated R there. 3 people knew that I was running a show on their side. Obviously, the dude who was going to be making a crap load of money off of me wasn't calling the town to get me shut down.
No,
The guy who was working with him wasn't. But that third person who somehow found out, I wonder why he went out of his way.
well, he
Like,
wasn't
what
making
was the
that
point?
money.
Yeah, well, he wasn't making the money. He didn't like me because I didn't kiss the ground that he walked on. And that's the problem. No matter what, wrestling, there is a lot of politics behind backstage. It is a lot about who you know. AEW is a great example about that. It's who you know to get on that show. A lot of the guys signed are from us, one school, all from Creative Pro. They're all friends and boys.
Well, MJF is from Creative Pro, so you figure, if you're a top star in one promotion, you can talk.
Well, their
and say,
main
hey,
trainer is one of the head producers in the back.
oh, and you got that too, then.
At Buck, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Help
But no,
out your.
but you don't think WWE was looked at that way, grabbing all these New England guys, and chaotic being small WWE at one point, trying to pull these guys in and push people out to WWE.
I mean, I look how many people from Chaotic trained there are actually at WWE throughout the years. It's not a lot.
No,
They're Kowalski guys. There's a small handful of guys that have gone through there. There's a lot of guys who've come through the New England circuit that have gone up there. But it doesn't matter like where this or that or where you're from. If you're good, you're good. If you're a good person, you're a good person. I don't care how many flips you can do in the ring. If you're a good person out of the ring, cool. If you're a shitbag outside the ring, you're a shitbag in the ring, in my opinion. I have no time for it. I got out of high school many years ago.
I think that's what happened in pro wrestling across the board. People started to realize that their childhood idols were shitbags outside. You had Hogan calling people shitty names. You had Warrior saying shitty things. You had, all these wrestlers the kids looked up to for, 15 years just be really shitty people.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Like,
and
people
then
you grew up
back
watching
again,
TV.
unfortunately, in 2020 with a bunch more of our idols and friends and all being called out for sexual predators. People that we didn't even think would be
They
called
deserve
out.
everything they got.
They did, but I'm still shocked by some of the names.
Some of them are saying, oh, well, these people are ruining my life. Fuck them. They ruined their own lives when they pulled that bullshit. And if they try to come back to wrestling, I'm going to be one of those people that call them out still on their bullshit. I've said it before. There's the dude down in Florida who runs Team Vision Dojo. He is a sexual predator. He is registered in the state of Florida, and yet he made a 16-year-old his tag team partner. And yet people still want to work for him. Rob Feinstein. Why do people still work for him? He got caught red-handed. Like, it's just, I will not sacrifice. I don't care how much money you have. I'm not going to sacrifice what I believe to work for someone like that.
I mean, just last year in Tiverton, they used some level 3 sex offender. I mean, in a local
and look how that show got.
It went to hell. But I mean, it sucks for the people that don't know about it, that don't have no idea. And that's why I said it was a shock to a lot of the fans that did like some of these people that were called out. Because they didn't know their personal life. They didn't know their personal stories. They just followed them online. Or they followed, who they thought they were online, rather.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that, I hate to say it, there's guys that I bought shit from, and then 2 weeks later, they were fucking names were called out and dragged, and I'm out there burning fucking merch.
Yeah. It's these guys who think they can get away with it. This is an era where if it's online, you're going to get found out one way or the other.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, yeah, and a lot of the stuff is online because a lot of the people did stuff online, and a lot of the people were ballsy with what they did. They took advantage of their position in wherever they were. WWE people, you gotta think of it. They have there's something about them, but the kids automatically look up to them. They have that movie star kind of quality. Well, they're there, but they're larger than life to a lot of people. So when they become their role models, and when you betray that trust, it's fucking devastating to see.
I mean, it happens no matter what business you're in. It
Oh,
happens where
no,
people
I'm
in
not saying it's
power.
the wrestling business because it could be
Oh
any
yeah,
business. Hollywood, you see it even at the local, your local mom and pop grocery store. There could be some bullshit that happens. That's just human nature. The scummy, shitty, fucking horrible people in every aspect of this world, every creepy crawly part.
if
There's
that
somebody.
information passes to my desk, I'll put that out there and I'll contact whatever business it is and call them out on it.
Some
Wrestling, you
people
have
will
to
just
do it.
kind of like just shrug it off or just it's not my problem. But I mean, at least you take the initiative and it kind of gives the awareness because the awareness is where it all comes down to. People shouldn't be hiring shitty people, but some people don't know that these are shitty people that they're hiring, and that's
The
where
problem
people
is
run
they
into trouble.
know they a lot of them know they're shitty people and they refuse because they're boys or it's their buddies.
See, the boys' mentality got to go away in the locker room, in my opinion. I think that's
A
kind
lot
of
of it has. It's not the same it was, 10 years ago.
no, it's a
It's
much cleaner industry.
because you have a lot of guys who are in the same mindset I am that won't tolerate it. They're, guys like Sully Banger was for this area who ran, Live Prov or Wrestle Party was a huge component of, hey, you're a piece of trash. You're going to get called out on it.
But
A
they're
great
also ones that
example is
people that
someone
are
like
highly
Mark Henry.
respected in the industry, and people will be like, "Hey, I like this guy. Well, I really like this guy, like as a person." And when you see like when you see these names attached, and when you see your name attached to a promotion, you can kind of know in the back of your head, well, this promotion's a decent promotion. If there was a shitty person on there, he wouldn't be signing his name to it. He wouldn't be working the same locker room with them. He wouldn't. He would have already called them out. He would have already told them off. He would have already told them to get the fuck out of there.
But they don't because they're boys is the problem. There's only one promoter I know in New England who 100%, like when all this stuff broke, kicked them all to the curb. One of the big guys, guys you normally see me attached with. Brickhouse Baker, absolutely not. Simonetti, absolutely not. Like they take these guys and they will permanently remove them from their locker room with not a second thought.
You have to. And that's the way to do it. And those are the promotions you kind of should stick to because, and I tell that to fans too, to stick to these promotions because they're the ones that aren't going to get into this bullshit of, well, this guy should have never been on that show. He was a fucking, and you get into this whole, well, who's to blame kind of issue. Was it the promoter? Did he know? Did the promoter know and just didn't care? Did he not know? Did fucking somebody else lie? Who lied? You don't have to worry about that shit in a lot of these good promotions because it's already taken care of. They just don't hire the fucking shit bombs.
Well, the thing is, like everyone, 95% of my communications is through a cell phone these days. You can easily check the little, oh, well, how, you knew about it. It's like, okay, here's my logs. Guess what? I didn't. Check it out. Like, I don't have those anymore. Really? Why'd you delete them? That sounds like you're hiding something. If certain people are on certain shows, I won't work those shows. And then I will call the people out. I have given promoters, hey, this is the guy you have on your show. I'm not sure if you're aware about it. Here's the receipts of what he did. Oh, well, we know about that. Okay, well, tomorrow, if he's not removed by your show, then I'll be calling you out along with him.
Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is, some of this stuff is, they should just be let go. Other stuff is, well, if you're allowing it, you're kind of guilty by association.
Well, no, if they're allowing it, knowing it's come to their attention, then they're going to get called out for the bullshit too. Now, I have called people, oh, why are you doing this to me? The fuck am I doing to you? You're the one who friggin' decided not to keep it in your pants and sending a dick pic to friggin' 20 women who are underage. Like, what the hell's your problem? It's not.
And you heard about it, you saw I saw a lot of the letters from fans or different, people in this industry that wrote letters. And, my heart just kind of broke for them in 2020 when they did write these letters because, I always do believe the victims. And, when I seen them come out, I could see how it could happen, unfortunately, because of the way the nature of the business can be run and the way that, people kind of do use and abuse their power if they can. Not everybody, but some people just do. I hate it.
There's been a few schools that have, had to close because the guys in charge use their position to get favors from students or fans. And they were called out on.
Stuff like that does not help the industry. It's not going to bring, it's not going to bring new fans in. It's not going to bring respect to it. The one thing that I can say about pro wrestling that I hate to see is the disrespect that it gets from non-fans because they just don't understand it. They either think it's a carny bullshit show that's just, for little kids, or that it's just, it's really trashy, a bunch of bums, older bums just wrestling, in
Well, let's be
underwear.
fair. Wrestling is carny bullshit for kids.
It is, but
Not in a bad sense. People want to use that term negative. I am happily will call myself the capitalistic carny. Like,
I
that's what I am.
I love the carny aspect. It's just the right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. If you're running a show just to gouge fans and you start, advertising names, and when you get there, all of a sudden, there's only local people, and everybody that you advertised didn't even know they were on the fucking card, but you were selling $40 tickets, and you fucking sold out. And well, fuck you. That's
If I'm
conning.
running a
That's
show and
really
I
crappy
promise you a
bullshit.
death match, I'm going to give you a death match.
Exactly. But if I go in there and this guy can work me up to upgrade my seats, and he can then sell me another package with a shirt and a freaking hat, and the next guy can sell me his bullshit, and another guy, and I end up spending $300-400. I'm not going to be mad at that. I appreciate the hustle and I'll respect that.
Well, I mean, if you want to
Enjoy.
spend $300-400 for like a T-shirt and a belt, come see me. I'll gladly sell it to you.
It depends on the t-shirt though. I'm running out of room, and I need new shirts, but I have a lot of them. I do have a lot of shirts. I have like 16 cases upstairs, and then plus my bureau's full. And I'm always rotating them out. I don't know what I do. Like in 2020, when I saw the people out of work with wrestling, I just started buying shirts. I threw up posts and would say, hey, anybody with an PWI shirt, throw your links up here. I'll buy random shirts, and I just bought random shirts. I got guys' shirts that I don't even know where they wrestled from.
See,
I
and
never
people,
seen.
I mean, I told you flat out, like, I really appreciated that when you bought that one. Like, that was, you didn't have to do that.
No, I didn't.
You didn't
I'll
have to
be
do
honest. I didn't. I didn't buy anybody's shirt. I didn't have to. I wanted to. I truly, honestly wanted to. I've seen people going out there for 2-3 years that I was in it, you know, entertaining myself, entertaining me. They always were nice to me and respectful to me, but they also entertained me. They gave me good shows, so I wanted to give back to that. That was my fandom. Um, and I kind of stuck with it. I mean, I'll stick to certain promotions that I just love to just kind of just go to and just spend money at and just promote it and help it grow, because I like to see it grow. I like to see the people on it grow. I like seeing these guys, that we do see on the local VFWs, do get to see them to the next level and national level. I love seeing that. I love it. It really warms me up and really warms my heart, when you see these guys, because they do work their asses off. It doesn't matter the tear. And when they get called up to wherever it is and they get that spotlight, you can tell they really deserved it.
Yeah, it's a good feeling to see people that you supported. Hey, this guy, is at this level now.
It is. And it makes the industry very exciting to see this kind of change happening, because sometimes the guys do move very quickly. You'll get them in New England for a little bit, and then they're gone. And you'll see posts. We better use this guy before we can't use him anymore, because once they're under contract, you're losing them.
Yeah.
For instance, like I tried to get Masha Slamovich to do an interview. I got to contact like Impact. I got to contact like all these people now. Where if I just did it last year, I could have just talked to her directly. Now I got to contact like 6 media people. It becomes difficult to get people after a certain time point when they get to a certain level. No matter what you're trying to do, it just becomes more difficult. There's more logistics. There's more legality. There's just more legal stuff in it. So nowadays, though, I mean, the pandemic is well behind us. You're working. You got this Elkmania show coming up. You work Elkmania. This is the 10th
I've been
year.
with Elkmania. It's now Elkmania. There's no way. Elkmania 10. I have been there since Elkmania 3. That was my first show with the promotion. I've been with PG, who absorbed Elkmania. I've been with PG since day one.
Yep.
The PG, when I tell people that, there wouldn't be a PG without the Chat Epic Initiative, that's not me bullshitting. That's me telling the truth. The guys who started PG, a good chunk of them were my people. All right. Conway, Delilah, Giles, the Middlesex Express, myself, the Firebirds. Those are guys that started that along with others. A few of Simon Eddy's guys. All right. Obviously, Dick Lane, if you remember, a guy named Zaparo was there. Jack Kruger was there. And we didn't work it was a bunch of people, kind of studio shows, you would call it.
Yeah, he told me that. I remember talking to him. He was like, he was really fascinated by the whole Beyond taping thing. So he kind of wanted to go in that direction.
Yeah. And we did that, I believe, for 2, 3 years of studio tapings. Some of those tapes actually haven't even been released yet. um,
Is it true
of
you
course,
guys,
Jeremy
some of
Bell
them
was
were,
their zebra.
with some of them, weren't some of them done like even like at the old showcase or the new
They were.
showcase training place? Yeah.
It was before everything, fell to shit for them. Um,
That's another topic for another episode. We've got like
that's
three
a
more
whole,
episodes I can run
yeah.
down, huh?
But
But
I
so
mean,
yeah, I mean PG has like been like one of those brands that I really loved, and I always meant to get to it. Um, and then the pandemic hit, and like I had to refund my tickets. The same thing with Maine. I finally got limitless tickets. It was AG versus Chris Statland. I was all excited to go to that. I had the Derek Conway versus Mike Montero cage match tickets, ready to go to that. All these first time shows, then the pandemic hit, so I didn't get to go to anything. I was so bummed. So bummed. I was more bummed for missing those two shows actually than missing Mania.
yeah, I mean that whole. Let's be fair. This whole decade has not been the best, but it is
No.
what it is, and we're
It's
moving on from it.
it seems to see turn around. Wrestling right now, I feel, is in a good spot. A
It
lot of
is.
people
I
are booming. There's a lot of shows. There's a lot of variety out there.
there's it's in a better spot than it's ever been. People are making more money, they're getting more bookings, there's more shows. People, oh, it's oversaturated. That just means you get to choose where you go. Oh, well, we didn't draw because they're drawing 5, 6 hours away. What?
Well, that
No,
makes
do
it, and that makes the fans be able to go to more places. They
yeah.
can go local shows, and other local shows can go to local shows, and local fans can go to their local shows, and it'll still fill up.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, hey, you like me here? I'm gonna be this place next week. Come see me there. It's and oh well, you follow certain people around because that's who you want to see.
And I would,
It's
I would, I would follow the wrestler. Sometimes I don't follow the promotion. Sometimes I follow the wrestler because I know they're a good person. I know the promotion will be fine. It'll be a straight show, so I'll follow the wrestler. And yeah, I will go. Oh, they're going to be at where are you wrestling next week? And well, I'm doing this show. Well, I'm going to check that one out. Cool.
I mean,
Um,
PG right now, I have, I made a declare instead of having people attach my name to me and I could get them places. I've attached to somebody for the first time in 13 years. I'm now working with Brian Malonis.
that's awesome. Brian's a great
Brian
dude.
Malonis,
He's another one from New England. Really crushed it. Came out Ring of Honor superstar. Really always puts on a great show.
how many people can say they were, they have sold out Madison Square Garden on the independent level?
Nobody.
All right. How many people can say that they were at Madison Square Garden?
Maybe a handful. Maybe a handful. Not
On the
maybe.
independent scene, unless you were part of that show, barely anyone.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe a handful.
Yeah. Malonis is one of the best unsigned talents in New England. And it doesn't
Really
matter
is.
if it's the mind eraser standing across from us, whoever it is, they get squashed. We like to say follow the money because Malonis is money.
Oh, he is.
And I decided to follow the money.
I'll say though, he is a little bit of a nice guy. I bought one of his shirts during the pandemic too, and he was doing. It came with a phone call of thanks, and he called me
Yeah.
and said thank you. Cool dude. But he ended up running some kind of little thing where he was doing some on Zoom, and he brought in like Ivar, and he brought in a bunch of known New England guys, some old guys, some people that own promotions from back in the day. Brought them all in. I ended up winning that, so I ended up getting to go in on that Zoom call. What a fistful of knowledge that was, and
I would have loved that.
and everybody's eyeballs in there talking in old times, and everyone's just having a good time. It was like 15, 20 minutes. Fun times, though. And I got to meet Brian, and he was good. And I got to see him at the last show I was at. And, I shook his hand and said, do you remember? I don't know if you remember, but, I won your thing. And he was like, oh, yeah, I remember. That was so much fun. Thanks again for buying my shirt. Really appreciative. And I always love that. That's the one thing I will say about the indie scene that always will draw me in is that you can get to your favorite superstar and you can say hello.
Yeah. It's people don't understand, like the interaction is on a different level. You don't get to see Tom Cruise after you're done with the movie.
No, but you can see the superstars. You can sometimes they'll even let you, I've been to shows where they let you in the ring take pictures with your favorite superstars. Yeah. Fun little things like that. I've seen superstars go back and forth with their, even people get to go and see the ones they don't like, and they'll go this for that, bring signs, they'll banter with them, say, horrible things to you. But it's part of the show. It said, it brings pride to you. If you can get people to boo you and that's supposed to be what you're supposed to do, well, you did the job right.
In 13 years, I have never once had crickets in the crowd when I've been out there. And I've seen it happen to people. And they get, oh, well, it was this reason. I'm like, stop making excuses. You weren't good tonight. End of story. Learn how to work. It's a different crowd. Read the crowd, see what works, and use it.
Yeah, I mean, they should make some noise, either good or bad, one way or the other.
No,
They
it's
shouldn't be quiet.
a death
Wrestling
sentence.
should
If
never
you
be
go out
quiet.
there and they're not making any noise, that's a death sentence in wrestling. And I can say in 13 years, I've never had that.
That's lucky.
Like,
And that's good, though. But that's
so
also
you say
showing
luck.
that
I mean,
you're good.
I don't consider it luck. It's me putting in the work. I'll make sure there will never be a quiet. I will find the loudest person in that show, and I will get in their face and scream at them. And like crowd mentality, everyone like, hey, stop being a jerk. I'll tell them to shut up too. And it works.
So even before you start, will you kind of like read the crowd and be like, well, these guys
I'm out
over
there
here.
from when the fans walk in till they leave. I make sure my table is set up. I'm making you buy my crap. I'm yelling at people. They know who I am. I'm the guy in a very nice suit with fancy shoes yelling at you, telling you to buy my crap. And you remember it. And let's not forget the holy water hot sauce, too.
Oh, I
mean,
love
that's
that.
hard.
I'm still waiting for a ball, though. You've been out for a little bit, though.
That is all on me. I have not made it. That is, I call myself the capitalistic carny, and I fell behind on it. PG this weekend, I will have a fresh batch of holy water hot sauce this weekend at PG at PBD Beverly Elks for Elkmania 10. Coming up this Christmas, I'm doing something a little different. I will have a box set. It's going to have Chad Epic's holy water. It's going to have the rub by Chad Epic, which is a ghost pepper dry rub.
Ooh.
It's going to have Chad Epic snake oil, which is a spicy infused extra virgin olive oil.
I love it.
So you get holy water, snake oil, and the rub, all from Chad Epic.
I'm going to have to buy the holy water this weekend. I'm going to have to buy the gift set for Christmas. I'm a spice guy myself, and I love that kind of stuff. And that's
I wanted to do it last year, but I just couldn't get the rub the way I wanted it. It's actually, I will say, it's been kind of hard. I haven't had taste buds since last January, so trying to make a tasteful hot sauce has been difficult the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm sure. You don't want to make it too hot and kill the rest of us, but I do like a good spicy sauce.
I have people, I can handle it. I'm like, okay, here you go. When you see a grown man cry when he says he can handle the spice, I tell people it's the only hot sauce you can taste twice. Once now, once in the morning.
Oh.
Chad Epic knows how to bring the heat. So
I'll be taking extra Prilosec with me just in case.
I mean, I am booked up. Either the holiday season's coming up, as I'm not sure if you know this, I do a lot of charity work as Santa Claus during the holiday.
You do. I heard rumors that you might be doing something with pop-up wrestling.
Yes. I will be at pop-up wrestling as Santa Claus. That I believe is on the 9th of December.
Yep.
And, we'll have graphics and everything up,
Yeah,
while
no,
this is
I
going
was
on.
I was talking to Ty earlier, actually. He wants to run another episode as it gets a little closer. Maybe have you on, him on, Jason on, a few other people on.
Yeah, I think we're actually in the chat. So I would love to do it. I'll even dress up as Santa.
That's another show that I really enjoy. I went to last year, and I've noticed you there too, and always a good time over there. The Nightmare Before, Nightmare After Mania. It was this year with Nightmare After. And that's another good show, that happens in the North Shore again. And so you got that, you got Proving Ground. Where else can people find you, Chad?
You're gonna find me this month is New World Wrestling Extreme at the end of the month. The 28th. You will find me at New World Wrestling Extreme.
I tell you, I just brought in a great kid last week from there, Sunset Steven Garcia.
Love Sunset. It's a good
Phenomenal.
Kid, great talent. If he sticks with it, keeps his,
You know what really stuck me with him is how humble he was. Like just his presence, the way he talked about the profession, talked about the locker room, talked about the vets in there, and just how he soaked it all up. It really was humbling. Just listening to him of how humble he was. And it shows that
he's coming out of New Hampshire or Connecticut.
Like you said, Connecticut.
Okay, so he must be coming out of 3Ds then.
Yeah.
So that explains that right there. 3D Academy. Everyone I've met from there has been amazing to work with. It's like their teacher, the guy who runs 3D Academy, seems to know what he's doing or something, you know?
Well, I mean, and that's where it all starts, honestly, now, is if you're going to go, obviously, you should go to a school. Nobody should be trying this in their backyard anymore. Nobody should be trying to just do this off of watching a YouTube video. You know,
I mean,
you
that's
should
how
go.
Hardy started and Mick Foley
They
and
did,
Matt.
but again, again, the times, Chad, the times. You could get away with
Everyone
it back then.
starts somewhere. If that's where you're going to start, make sure to find someone who can make you do it right so you don't break your neck, of
Well,
course.
that's all I'm saying is just try to have somebody wing with you. You know, don't just
Yeah.
go and watch 10 YouTube videos and then start taking bookings and say, you know, you're the next freaking, you know, Nick Gage, and all of a sudden you're bleeding to death.
You're the next mass transit.
Yeah, and you cut yourself walking to the ring and your artery is bleeding, and it's like, oh.
You know what? I still got a pulse. I'm probably the only manager on the independent scene that was able to open hand slap Nick Gage and still have a pulse. So
That still amazes me, you know, and I don't think people realize how hardcore you've gotten over the years, you know, just in that scene.
I am very much waiting to get back to it. I have a few guys lined up, a few things lined up coming up in the next year, possibly.
Ooh.
So there is Bill and I am.
You might see another show coming up.
No, you will be seeing another show come up next year. That is a guarantee. I have, you know, this belt unfortunately never got the thanks to friggin' everything that happened. I mean, I fully admit that last show I had for Rated R up in Maine was a complete disaster on my end. I rushed it, I failed, and I know that. And that has been taken care of and talked to death, you know? But
I think just taking ownership of mistakes as a promoter, or just realizing when things have gone sour and just saying I'm sorry, sometimes can just, you know, show how professional you really are, and just kind of can get business moving on. But when you kind of defend the crappy behavior and you're like, it's your fault, it's like nobody wants to see the finger game. Just take
ownership. Blame anyone. It was my show. I was the promoter. That means it's my fault. End of story. Like, and I tried to, you know, I don't put it on the workers. I don't put it on the fan. It was on me. I screwed up. I paid the consequences for it. I literally almost got evicted from my house. My car got repoed because of that show. I fucked up completely, and I owned it. Everyone who worked that show that I said, you know, that we talked to was getting paid, got paid. Despite what people want to say. All right. I went online the very next day and apologized for my fuck up. Said, stop talking to the wrestlers. Stop. If you got an issue, hit me up and it will be handled. And it was. You had some people still run their mouth to this day who had nothing to do with it.
Sometimes wrestlers can get bent, or people can get bent because, you know, the money's not good enough. They want the match. They want to, you know, they wanted the show. They wanted whatever.
You want to be main event? Okay, what does that get you? I mean, you could be main event of most shows. You just sell a bunch of tickets. End of story. That's how a lot of people get started in this business. Hey, I just sold 50 tickets for you. Sweet, you're going to be my commissioner now. Like, that's how it works. It's who you know. It's what you can do. If you know, Elkmania, I've sold in one show 51 tickets for one show. You'll see in the front row, it's literally Chad Epic, Middlesex Express, Era Violence shirts all throughout. It was 20 minutes from my hometown. They were turning people away at the door that night. And people were like, oh, maybe he can do something. The very first PG show, which was March 16th, it was 3/16. We were told by another promoter who was running that night that, you know, people like me are scumbags and don't belong in this business and can't draw a dime. I took that personal. I went out and sold about 40 plus tickets for that show. I'm like, oh, we can't draw anything? He quit the business that week.
Well, I mean, you got to sometimes shut the haters up like that. And
I do, you know.
By being successful.
He was an unequal douchebag is what he was. So
well, the only way to shut them up is with success.
And he quit the business that week. Because, you know, oh, well, I can't run. No, you can't run because you're a piece of shit human being. And you ran your mouth and then you got shot down. Like,
usually
don't come after me or my people and I won't have to take it personal. And that's what I do. Don't come after, you know, at the end of the day, it's if someone came home and they're like, oh, well, this guy from a show is insulting your family, I can guarantee you they're going to get smacked at a show, right?
Most likely.
And you know what I would do if I saw that? I'd be like, I didn't see nothing. Like, You don't mess with another man's family or their friends, you know? It's
No,
wrestling.
I mean, and that's the thing, and you got to think of wrestling as anything else. It's real world too. I mean, you wouldn't act this way in the real world. You wouldn't try these shenanigans in the real world or bullshit or disrespect. You wouldn't do these kinds of things. So don't do it in the backstage. Don't do it in the locker room. Don't do it in the ring. It's all the
Don't run your
same.
mouth online when you think people don't know.
Well, that's the other thing. Anything online, believe me, you can say anything online, and the whoever you're talking about is probably watching you type.
Well, that a lot of people run with online because they believe it's, can make them anonymous and no one will ever find out, and they're not in any threat of getting punched in the mouth for saying horrible things about someone's family.
Until you get a knock on the door.
It's
It
people in
can
this.
happen. I'm not saying it can. I'm just saying, the local scene can be small when people run their
I
mouth.
would never do such a thing personally. I would
No,
never
but
admit on the internet that I would do something illegal like that. I would never admit to that.
no, but I've seen people threaten people online and be like,
Of course.
they'll talk the most worst things about this people's family, and the other people are just like, well, really? Then bring it if you're gonna bring it. If you're gonna
Oh, I
talk
have
this
people
much
run their
stuff.
mouth to me online, and we'll be in a locker room. I'm like, "Would you like to continue the conversation?" Oh, that was just play. That was me and gimmick. I'm like, bullshit. You have something to
Yeah,
say? I'm right here.
I got a guy like that too. Online, he just ramps everybody up. He'll say the most violent shit. He'll tell these guys, "Oh, you're never gonna be as good as so and so. You're never gonna be a John Cena status. You'll never make it to WWE." He'll make these guys cry, and then, they'll hate him. They'll tell him to go f off, and then in person, oh, that's just me in character. I'm just being, I'm like, dude, you're not even a wrestler. You're just a fan. What do you mean you're in character? Every day you're barraging these guys with horrible comments and terrible things, just destroying the last bit of hope that they have in this industry. But yet now you're just a gimmick. Come on, come on.
If it's a fan, you know what? As workers, we do have to have thicker skin. There's one that is very much, if I go up to the next level, I get signed by one of the big guys. There's going to be a lot of people across the world that's probably going to hate me and want me to die.
Oh, there'll be a lot of people. I think if you got signed by WWE tomorrow, I think the hate mail would be coming in by the fucking minute. But
Probably not even from the fans, from a lot of the workers in the area too.
the workers, it won't be the
You
fans will
stole
be
my
happy.
spot.
It's the workers. The workers, maybe a few promoters. They're like, oh shit, there goes our draw.
Well, here's the thing. I know who supported me and who supports me in this run. I know, like, I have family. I've been doing this 13 years. I have family that hasn't shown up to a single show. Even when I run shows in my hometown, they don't show up. I guarantee you, if I got signed, they'll be like, "Oh, you got tickets for me?"
Yeah, that's
Like,
how it goes. You
as
got free
much
tickets?
negative as like we've talked about, wrestling itself is still fun. I have a blast doing it. I enjoy interacting with fans. I enjoy making kids cry and stealing their cookies. Shake the babies, kiss the hands type of deal. That's what Chad Epic does. You're at a show and I make you buy my crap. I have stuff that you want to buy. I can make championship belts. I have the machines in my garage to make any custom championship belt for you. If it's wrestling, I can make it for you.
We're gonna have to talk honestly about that. I would like a nice VSW podcast belt. I got the logo, as you can see behind me.
I can see the logo. I can do that as either as a side plate or the front thing.
Nice
And you know what? I have
look
taught
great in
myself
that
how to work with
podcast.
3D printers, with CNC machines, leatherworking. It's just I realize, hey, there's a money for this. Same thing.
And that's where I think wrestling is evolving. I think it's you do getting the 3D printers. You're getting custom creative wrestling figures now. You're getting people getting into that realm. You're getting indie guys getting rid. Look what PG and Derek did with all that, and look where it's still going. I mean, he just did a panel at some convention where he was
he was
talking
at the toy convention this past Sunday.
I saw bits and clips on TikTok, very interesting. And that's just great to see, and there's someone that also took a very bad circumstance of the pandemic and made it totally positive for himself. And I love to see that again. And it kept the dream alive, and it kept, PG going, and it kept everybody, right on track till, the taping started. And again, it got a lot of guys out there. I got a little Dick Lane glow in the dark figure right there, and there's still figures that I would like to get. I remember, I bought a Mike Montero custom elite during the pandemic. It took him about 6 months to make it, but my
Sounds
God,
about
is
right.
it beautiful? It is beautiful.
Like,
It
we
is
still
on
got
point.
footage, I think, from year one that hasn't seen the light of day.
But yeah, I know. But you know what? That's the beautiful thing about footage. It never gets really old. just kind of gets better because then you're like, oh wow, what's this? This is never before seen stuff.
Yeah, when like that many years ago, and now I got like 50 pounds on me, and you know,
And I got a few. I got the first 3 DVDs. They're sitting in my
like
collection.
I hate watching my old stuff. Like I'll go back and like I will be standing first show in the middle of hard cam. I'm like, I would have smacked you today. Like blocking the referee, I'm like, God damn, because no one told me what I should have,
Yeah,
shouldn't be.
no
But
ring of win. There's no nothing. Just
yeah,
kind of now. But that's common mistake. And now you kind of learned your way around. Obviously, you're more of a veteran now than ever. Every year you're getting obviously more of a veteran. But you've been in the industry a long time. You've been in a lot of different locker rooms. You've been in a lot of different rings and a lot of different venues with a lot of different people and a lot of different promoters. And with all that experience, now you obviously know a lot more about this industry.
well, that's what comes with experience. That's the only way you're going to learn is repetition.
But you can also go through the whole industry and never learn a damn thing.
Yeah, that's very true. Unfortunate for a lot of people too.
You could go show after show every weekend and just do the same slick for like 20 years and then retire and just never really made it out of, the two promotions. And you had fun, but you could have done a lot more.
Well, they say if you can't make it in professional wrestling, you take your tax dollars and you start your own promotion and give yourself the belt.
Yeah, but I've seen that done too many times.
That's what they do.
I know about
Tax
five.
season,
I know about 5 people that got that have that position right now.
tax season is new promotion season.
It is. Well, it is. You're going to see probably about 3 or 4 promotions get rebooted next year.
Oh,
All
100%.
all in
Like,
tax season.
I mean, this week, like for me, like I said, you'll see me at Elkmania 10. I will be in the corner of Brian Malonis as we squash down, sit on, just, no matter what he wants to bring, the Mind Your Racer, Mike Grassa, against Brian Malonis.
We will be there.
Next week, I'm at a private event. So, on the weekend, I will be down south. So, weekend after that, I'll be at New World Wrestling Extreme on the 28th. And then the rest of that weekend, that's my birthday weekend, so I kind of disappear with a bottle of Jackers, and no one sees me for about a day or two. That's the way my birthdays are spent.
Well, that's
Give me a nice big steak, a big bottle of Jack, and leave me the hell alone.
The one day nobody to bother, Chad.
That's the way I like it. All right, I got my Santa gigs coming up. Like I said, I do a lot of work with animal rescue. I'm going to be on the road with that coming up in at least once or twice a week, going down south, I was just in Chicago, drove down to Florida. Going to be in the Carolinas this week.
That's one thing I don't think about people really get it. Between being this kind of, character in wrestling, you're also doing so much charity work in between, driving across the country, doing, going great lengths for charity. I'd
rather deal with animals than people any day of the week.
Oh, I believe it, but
I have been, I'm working right now. I'm actually working on organizing my own charity for animal rescue. I'm hoping to have it started by summertime, up and running. It's going to be called Rubber Ducky Transportation. We give a duck about animals will be our tagline.
I like it.
We want to take animals that don't have homes. Cats, we do a trap and release. We give them their shots, clip their ears so people know that they've been neutered and they're, been taken care of. Because there are some animals that can't be homed. There's some cats, once they've been out, you're not going to put a cat that's been on the outside for 8 years in someone's house.
Once they get to a certain level of feral, it's kind of hard to get them indoor. And I've seen it. My aunt takes cats in. My uncle took dogs in. And once they get to a certain level, sometimes you have to even give it back because it's not house trainable. Yeah. It's sad to see, but it's just not happening.
Well, as long as you can have a barn cat that lives outside. It's just make sure these animals, you want to, as Bob Barker said, spade and neuter your pets.
Yeah.
I've done rescues for China, for Turkey, Colombia, Puerto Rico, Mexico. Right now we're working to get contacted a rescue in Africa that I'm hoping to get in touch with to help out there as well.
That's super commendable. Again, like I said, again, above all the wrestling, just doing that kind of work, it just really speaks to the soul and just sort of the kind of person. Yeah.
Well,
Above all.
I believe, I'm a strong believer. You help those who can't help themselves. The only time you should check your neighbor's bowl is to see if it has enough. I'm one of those.
Usually my neighbors are trying to smoke my bowl, but that's a different story.
Every Christmas, I will go into Boston. I'll probably drop, a good chunk of money. I would get gloves, socks, like waters and stuff, and hand it out. I never will take a camera with me. It's not about that. It's giving it to people who are less fortunate. I always,
No,
I have,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely with that, and I was actually asking Ty the other day. It's funny you said this. I asked him if his show was doing a toy drive because I do buy a lot of figures, and sometimes I'll go to Target and I'll see like 3 or 4 of the same figure, and I'll just say, what the hell, I'm gonna buy them. I never end up reselling anything. I end up just hoarding it all. And then during Christmas time, I end up going through it all. And I'm like, I got 3 of these. Okay, one of them's come with me, and I go to whatever shows are doing toy drive.
Well, you know what?
I just
Here's the
pass
thing.
them out.
The show, I'll say this. I'm the host of that show. I'm going to be Santa Claus. And I'll tell Ty it's happening probably later this week. But then we're going to do it. I know a guy who runs a toy drive every year, and he does great work. I'm going to hit him up after this, and we'll have a toy drive at that show.
Yeah, let me know. And
I'll
I
make
guess,
sure
like I said, I got some WWE figures, AEW figures, there's stuff that I've
Yeah.
collected. It's just sitting in here, and I always like to just give it out. So I always try to find a show. Last year, I think it was like the Limitless show. I brought it up to Randy Carver's show and just threw a bunch of toys in his box. And other shows, it's like I said, it's over the year I end up collecting too many figures, and I just can't keep them.
Yeah, no, I'll actually talk to Ty. I mean, I have a friend who does a toy drive. I will be Father Christmas at that
Well, if you're
show.
going to be Santa anyways, I mean, what's better of a
Why
thing
not?
to do?
Yeah, no, it's December 8th, so we will do a toy drive at that show.
That'll be great. That'll be something fun, and I look forward to that. Like I said, I always look forward to Ty shows. It's always something different, and always something you don't always see in New England. It's always a little bit of a different matchups.
Well, that's
Again,
the thing. He is not he's not the typical wrestling promoter from this area. He's putting on a show to help a charity out, or because he loves wrestling, and he lets he'll come to other people who know the business for advice, and he wants to have a different style of show than everyone else.
So they get exactly, and that's what's kind of cool. Last time they did actually they brought the Kingpin in, and they brought different people that you wouldn't normally see fighting different people that you wouldn't see him fighting Flex Armstrong in any other promotion. I never have.
Yeah.
And I've never seen that kind of the street fight with Ricky Smokes. That was a great matchup, and you don't see that.
He'd be the good guy.
You never see that anywhere. That's really rare. I mean, people love you over there. That's rare too.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I got to be I was the good guy all night. I didn't have to insult and make a single kid cry. It was weird.
And I bet it helps with crap sales.
Yeah, a little. It helped a little bit, but it doesn't matter if I make a kid cry. He's still going to buy something at the end of the night. I'm good at what I do.
Well, actually, if you make the kid cry, the dad will probably buy him a toy to make him feel better. So you win-win.
Exactly. He'll just shut the kid up. He's going to buy the kid something.
But
it's great.
I'm just going to buy you this belt for $400. Just be quiet. Don't cry anymore. We got a 2-hour drive home.
But
it's you know what, Pat? I have to say, thank you very much for coming to the show. This has been long overdue, and it's great seeing all this greatness. And we'll be catching up. I'll be at Alchemy 10 as well. We got front row seats, and we're going to be there to see all this live action. We'll be seeing the Kingpin Brian Malone is kicking ass and taking names.
Maybe I'll bring my casket.
Just bring the hot sauce. Bring the hot sauce.
No, I bought a casket. If you know anyone who wants to buy an autopsy table, I got one of those too that I bought.
You bring that to the crap table. It's Halloween season. It might sell.
Oh no, I wouldn't sell the casket. Would be for the mind eraser to leave in.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about bringing casket. I was talking about bringing the autopsy table with you. Putting all the crap on that. Make that your crap table.
It's heavy as hell though.
Well, you got a
I'll
bunch
tell
of
you the story one of these days of how I acquired all this stuff.
That's another question. That's another thing.
Well, hey,
thank you very much.
It's a bunch of stories. That's what your life is. It's a bunch of small stories. Why not make them good ones?
Hell yes, I agree, brother. Thank you very much for coming on, and have yourself a great night. And thank you, everybody at home, for listening. This has been a great episode of VSW Podcast. Check out Chad Epic everywhere. See all the great stuff. Go all his social media accounts. Hit that sub button. Buy some merch, buy crap at the shows, figures, belts, all sorts of stuff. Check it all out. And thank you, everybody. Versace Stoner out.
Welcome to the Kill City Cup. I got the world by the